Hello everyone, this is Shiny Noctiles, and today I want to do a very important video for you guys. I think this is very important to share because um, I've been watching a lot of videos from some of the Native American tribes from tribal members from tribes mainly in the US, some in Canada but mainly in the US, and I think I watched this YouTuber named Haida. She's of Cherokee, Mayan, Lakota, Hawaiian, and Irish descent, and she actually, I think, because I watch her channel frequently because I learn a lot from her. She spoke to me about kind of, I mean, I do videos a lot, but she asked, she said, she'd be interested in, watching some of the content that I'd like to, that I that would be worth sharing. And also, I've spoken with my uncle Herman, who has spent over 40 years with the 40 years with the Cherokee Indians in North Carolina, and he always calls me Celtic healer plus or in addition to. And I've talked to him a lot about the Jomon people of Japan, and I've told him about because I was looking at the DNA of a lot of the Native Americans specifically in parts of the U.S. And parts of Canada, and I noticed their maternal lineage is actually not necessarily of East Asian descent. It's actually really of West Asian descent. If you look at haplogroup X2a, and the thing is, I have a bit of that haplogroup as well, but I probably didn't inherit it really from the natives. I inherited it from my European lineage because there are some haplogroups like haplogroup X2b, X2d, X2m that really correspond more so to not necessarily the Levant, which is what a lot of the 'cause I know a lot of people talk about the some of the natives feeling a connection to the lost tribes of Israel. But for me, I feel my lineage, the X2 lineage that I inherited from my European lineage, goes more to Greece and Troy, which would be northwestern Anatolia, which would originally have been part of Magna Graecia. But let's talk about the native lineage I inherited, because I've come to understand this whole thing about blood quantum. Uh, I feel like it's more of a concern, really, with some of the tribes in the U.S. and Canada, and I think it's important to try to help to heal them because I think when we talk about the prophecy of the eagle and the condor, it's been said that without the help of the condor, the eagle would be kind of trapped or imprisoned. And when I think of that blood quantum restrictions, I think of that it's like imprisonment for them, or they're imprisoning themselves. And so how do we break out of that imprisonment? How do we break out of that negative feedback, or as my Uncle Herman would say, how do we get out of the negative loop? So I think that we have to understand who were the original natives, who were the first natives, not only of now when I look at the Americas, I don't just think of enrolled members, tribal members, none of that, because to me that's all that terminology to me are kind of like constructs in a way, in the sense that before memory, as Uncle Herman would say, we have to remember who were the first people here, who were the first Native Americans, who were the first people who came not only 5,000 years ago, not only 10,000 years ago, not even 12,000 years ago, but I'm talking about 15, 20,000 years ago. Who were the first natives, the first people? So I was looking at the DNA, and I know Hylopatia, she talks a lot about Hawaii, and shout out to Hawaii. I know there are a fair amount of natives who feel a connection to Polynesia and Hawaii. Actually, one of my favorite moves that I enjoy from an anime series I watched called Dragon Ball Z, one of the main characters, Goku, he uses Kamehameha, and Kamehameha is actually a Hawaiian word. And that's one of Goku's most powerful moves, and I always kind of connect with that. So, but aside from the Hawaiians, aside from the Polynesians, we have to understand there is another lineage that also came to the Americas, that may have even predated them to an extent, or yeah, or because I feel like the Hawaiian lineage, the Polynesian lineage, haplogroup B specifically, and that's a very important haplogroup in the Southwest. And I know Hypopatia, she feels a strong connection with the natives in the Southwest. Um, they were here. They were. I think they were here definitely before haplogroup X2a for sure. I know that. But even before the Polynesian lineage, we have what is called the East Asian lineage, the haplogroup D, and it makes me think of the One Piece anime where they talk about the will of D, um, or kind of like it's essentially the antithesis, as Uncle Herman would say. So why is haplogroup D, or specifically why is haplogroup D4H, which is a subclade of haplogroup D, why is it such an important lineage? Well, because it is said that haplogroup X2a didn't cross into the Americas until after the ice started melting around the end of the Ice Age. However, probably even before haplogroup B, haplogroup D4H crossed the Americas not through the land bridge, but rather through the oceans, through the sea. And so, why is this so important? Why is this knowledge important? Well, it's important for many reasons. One reason is that, well, the first natives that probably came here to the Americas probably looked very similar to the original people of Japan, to the Aoshima, or in Japanese it means Blue Island, but to the Jomon people, to the original people of Japan, the indigenous inhabitants of Japan, who were not only Ainu, but because Ainu is one group of Jomon, but there are many groups of Jomon. And actually, I'm gonna link a video um, of Kaya. Kaya. My Vietnamese American friend's kind of funny. He's like, "Who's Kaya?" He's like, and anyways, Kaya. She's from Japan, and she shared kind of the DNA of the Japanese, and saying that not a lot of people know about the East Asian ancestries, that they, for whatever reason, there just hasn't been as much work on it. And what she was saying is that the Japanese are not, this homogenous, group of people that are all the same. No, that they actually have a multitude of different lineages, with the Jomon being one of them. Then you also have the Yayoi, which I've learned. Really, well, the Yayoi came to Japan through the Korean Peninsula 2,500 years ago. They even actually came to the Americas because I looked at the DNA with some of the native samples I had, and some of it said uh, Jomon, and the other said Yayoi. And I'll see if I can get this for you guys, because I think this is very important for you guys all to know, because I think there's this very um, unfortunately, I've watched many videos of many of the enrolled members of the tribes in the U.S., even in the Southwest, who, for whatever reason, they don't think that the natives, uh, who also have ancestry from natives from Latin America, that they are not, for whatever reason, not Native Americans, or that they all think they're all Mexicans, but that's not true. That's I'm gonna see if I can get this for you, because I want you to look at um, the lineage here. So notice how maybe this is where the word cholo or chola comes from because they use this word a lot in Latin America specifically. But look at, aside from that, we also have Avars, which were kind of like an equestrian group of people who kind of were more so kind of the eastern part of Eurasia, but they also went west as well. But aside, and you got Mongol horde and all that. But aside from that, look at here. Look at the Jomon. Look at this lineage. And then it'll tell you the groups of people that were closest to this match were the Uyghurs of Central Asia, the Hazara, Uzbek, Turkmen, Serrano natives, Kazakh, a lot of Central Asian, but and then here you can see ancient Malaysia, is a big marker from 4,000 years ago because um, they had said that some of the Jomon ancestors, some of their paternal lineages, Haplogroup D, may have actually have come through uh, even through Malaysia and through other parts of not necessarily just from the northern part of Asia, but even also from a bit of the southern part. And I actually had a sample here. This probably comes from my native lineage, where you can see Malaysian hunter-gatherer. Here's the Jomon here. And this actually reminds me a lot of Kazuki Takahashi, which was the author of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I'll see if I can get an image of him. Kazuki Takahashi. So you can see here, I know a lot of people say, some people think he looks like a Mexican, but really, probably the reason why he looks the way he does is because, well, he probably mainly has Jomon lineage, and I'm suspecting that the Jomon did not all look the same. I'm suspecting that the Jomon from probably Hokkaido may have looked a little bit different from the Jomon from Kyushu. You see, so Hokkaido, to give you an idea, because I know not everyone knows, where. I know Kaya would know, but I know not everyone's Japanese. So okay, so Hokkaido is up here in the north. So this kind of looks like a stingray and a manta ray, and then Kyushu is all the way. Oh, let me get at my mouse. Okay, so Hokkaido's up here. It looks like the stingray and the manta ray, and then Kyushu is all the way down here. And so what I'm thinking is that some of the Jomon, some may have come from the south, and then some may have come from further north. Um, but back to Kazuki. Let me see if I can get him because he talked a lot about. Let's see if I can get him. Kazuki Takahashi. So look at Kazuki. Then look at the Malaysian hunter-gatherers related to Jomon. So you can see some of the features that these hunter-gatherers had. You can see with Kazuki. And Kazuki, the anime he created, um, was Yu-Gi-Oh, which had a lot to do with ancient Egypt. I noticed in his art, he like in 5Ds, he actually took a lot of inspiration for the signers of the Guardian Dragons from Peru. See if I can get an image here. They also talk a little bit about the Nazca lines as well. So here's the Guardian Dragons signers. And they actually did a DNA study specifically with some of the people from the Andes that their maternal lineage actually was very close, if not identical, for some of them, with the indigenous people of Japan, which actually the Japanese, they still are technically part Jomon. The average person with Jomon lineage in Tokyo, which is where most people go to when they first go to Japan, is actually around 12%, I believe. So we can check here, average Jomon, and actually, I think from what I saw in Kaya's video, the Jomon lineage goes up the further north you go from Tokyo, and then it's really also high, I think, in Kyushu, and I think even to an extent Okinawa. So, oh, okay, no, it's actually higher. So the average Jomon lineage is actually 15%. So even higher. But let's see, specifically in Tokyo. See, it's still 10 to 15%, still a good lineage. Or, well, not still good lineage, still a good amount, you see. And so, why is this all so important? Because people, I think they get a little bit confused. I kind of laugh because when I went to Japan, and I went there years ago, I remember one of my brother's Japanese friends. She said I was kind of shy, and the Japanese, particularly some of the men, are known for being a wee bit shy. But I don't know if some of that rolled into me. But anyways, so you look at the different kind of looks of the Japanese. So you got the Jomon, you got the Yayoi, and you got mixed. Or I know the Japanese might say hafu, but I like to say rainbu because yeah, because the thing is, I know that in Japan right now, it had been relatively closed off for a fair amount of time, and now they've been mixing with more and more people. So here, like they did a video, for example, with the Blasians and the Wasians, which, essentially is a mix of European and Japanese, or Japanese and Black African American, or Black African. And so, and then even um, there's also some videos I like watching. I'll see if I can get it. Yeah, so I love these videos where, and I call these the Rasians, because really we got the Blasians, we got the Wasians, but people forgot about the Rasians, and the Rasians are native, and well, because I know some of the natives call themselves the red man, the red woman, all that. So to me, it's the red and the yellow, which, well, if you mix both, you can get a bit of orange. And actually, well, not the fake orange, not the fake tan, the actual genuine, orange. But anyways, so actually, I remember my great grandmother Lita. When I saw a photo of her, she didn't look all the way red or all the way yellow. She looked sort of orange. So she probably had more of a mixture of lineages that crossed the red and the red and the yellow. Or, well, the best way I can say it is, because when we talk about East Asians, and I know some of them, like my friend Otaro, he's like, all Asians are same, all Asians are same. That's his argument. But my argument is, without the yellow woman, there would be no yellow man. And who was the yellow woman? Well, the yellow woman would have been maternal haplogroup D, or maternal haplogroup D4h+3, or D4H. And so Yellow Woman has was probably one of the first people here. But at the time, the haplogroup N, which would be, or haplogroup O rather, which would be the paternal lineage of like Han Chinese, Yayoi, Korea. Um, they were not as prevalent at the time, or in the sense that I know there's this famous saying, uh, like in parts of Japan, that if there's any kind of different admixture in one's lineage, it's usually the Japanese mother that tends to be the troublemaker. But what people don't realize is that if you look at the maternal lineages of the Japanese, you'll see. I'll see if I can pull this up for you. let's see. So look at, sorry. Okay. So notice how you have the four major haplogroups of Japan, aside from haplogroup M, which actually was also connected to this lineage as well, right here. You can also see how that's also connected. Um, so, but and then M eventually it was also connected to haplogroup D. So look at how the lineages here. You have haplogroup D, which is the largest haplogroup in Japan, aside from M. You can also see in Okinawa, it's very high actually. Um, I'm gonna. I know I feel like it feels like I'm going all over the place, but there's a reason why I'm doing this. So look at this lineage here, how it talks about the Okinawa Jomon, Sanganji Jomon, which is north of Tokyo. So they were not only in the south, but also in the north. Even got Korea here, probably around the time of the Mamun culture, even before. Um, Malaysia, and then notice here you got a bit of Africa. You got Kenya here, but you also have late period Egypt, 800 before Common Era, Mummy. Of course, you got Mongolia too, and Nepal. So why is this all so important? And also got here Chola. Why is this all so all of this so important? Because um, I'm gonna try to see if I can explain this. Um, I think it's important to understand that when we look at the Japanese, now I know the Japanese sometimes are known to not like gaijin or not like foreigner. For those who are not aware, that was the thing in Japan at the time. But Japan has been opening up actually, and recently, some of the elders in Japan have actually said that immigration has been a good thing, for people coming to Japan, and it's helped their birth rates a wee bit. And so, um, and so how do we connect the Jomon with the Yayoi? Well, the Yayoi, the women of the Yayoi would have been connected to. They would have been there since the Jomon period, at least the maternal haplogroup D, because um, that was just part of the lineage. I mean, the men, of course, were different, but the women were ultimately connected. So, and I think that's one reason, like, why, like, my Pacific Northwest Wolf Clan old friend Jess, she reminded me a lot of my great grandmother Lita, and she used to say that she felt she was like looked like a medieval Japanese woman because she probably inherited uh, some of that, some of her maternal haplogroup lineage, if you go far back enough, even though her mother was Scottish, probably through her father's mothers, probably were connected to maternal haplogroup D of East Asia. So, okay, so I'm going to show you um, here. This is a sample I found about, they call it, I'd use air quotes, Aztec Mexico, even though it was also Miztec. And notice here how you have Yayoi people. Yayoi, to me, I think the Yayoi, because they were saying the Yayoi had come from the Yangtze River in China. And for those who don't know, the Yangtze River is, let's see if I can show you an image of the Yangtze. So the Yangtze is around here, but I think the Yayoi probably came from here, from further northeast, because I was looking at samples from the Yayoi period of Japan, and the Yayoi period started around 2,500 years ago. And the Yayoi were more so Jomon and Northeast Asian, but I didn't really see that much East Asian proper lineage until, at least predominantly from the male lineage, until 1800 years ago, or even less than that. And uh, so so the Yayoi were probably really more of Northeast Asian lineage. This is probably why the Japanese um, have around 20% of their ancestry connected to people from the Amur River population. So probably people who more so looked a little bit more similar to this would be that connection. And I know when you look at them, at least when I look at them, sometimes I get a feeling that they have this very uh, strong dragon energy that kind of needed to be healed. And maybe this is why, you know, with in Mexico, like with the Aztecs and all that, that there kind of had to there needed to be like a lot of healing to really help them see the healing guardian dragons in a way. But it took time for them because I think they really just had struggled to find that healing lineage and to kind of see how they could um, do things in a healing way. So, and I know even the Japanese struggled with that a little bit as well. Now, when we talk about the healing guardian dragons, the best way I can describe this to you is, well, if you look at Peru, because again, I know a lot of even people from Mexico, they don't know a lot about the people from Peru, which, well, actually some of it is part of my lineage, as well as Patagonia. So you look at these two dragons, you see that they're facing each other, and it's really interesting because um, in Celtic art, I'll see if I can get the image of the Celts, because they'll show two dragons facing away from each other here. Let me see if I got it. Scordisci. So notice here, European Celtic art, you have the true dragons facing away from each other, right? One's facing west and the other's facing east. Um, but notice here in Peru, this is the Chimu relief. Um, I'll have to see what era that is. But notice how the two dragons, instead of facing away from each other, they're facing each other. So instead of saying, okay, this dragon goes west, this dragon goes east, no, now the two dragons are coming back. And then what comes out of those two dragons? The rainbow, or the arcoiris, or however you want to look at it. And so I'm going to see if I can get this for you. Chimu period. Peru. So the Chimu period was 900 Common Era to 1470 Common Era, so that was before the time of the Incas. And so people might ask themselves, who were the Incas? What genetic ancestry were they related to? What was their DNA? Well, so let's start with the Incas, and then we'll go to ancient Peru before Inca or pre-Inca. So notice how during the Inca period in Peru, they were really a mixture of a lot of different people. You have here indigenous people of North America, Mayan, Inca, Aztec, all the natives kind of coming together here. And then here you have Maya, Luceno, uh, and you got Apache. So why is Apache so important here? So I kind of laugh with the Apache because my friend Joe actually he's of Apache descent, or he's Apache, English, Jewish, and I think Irish too, and some other lineages. And he always smirks about being Apache. He's always like, "Yeah, I'm Apache. I'm Apache Korean." And he sneers about it. He sneers about it. It's crazy. But anyways, so Mr. Apache Korean. So why is this all so important? Well, I told my friend Joe that when I looked at his mum, because he said his mum said that her grandmother was mainly Apache. I looked at some of the natives in Peru, and some of them looked similar to her. So let's see if I can get a picture of some of the indigenous people of Peru. Because there were some of them that when I looked at them, I'm like, that's Joe's mother. That and I'll have to see if I can get an image. Um, I'll have to see if I can. Yeah, so this would be kind of yeah. So when I look at some of the women here, they remind me a lot of Joe's mom, and so maybe that could have been part of the or even here as well. And so that could have been, some of the Apache lineage, or especially here. This definitely reminds me of Joe's mom. Yeah. So this could be some of the Apache lineage who actually eventually went all the way down to Peru and mixed with the natives down there. Because back then, before the first settlers had, or the first people had come from from Europe to the Americas. And I want to make this clear because I know, Hypatia did a video and she talks a lot about the English, the English, coming to the Americas and all that, and that's all fine and dandy. But the Spanish actually predated the English, and to give credit, because well, in a positive way, not in a negative way, because I don't want to, I don't want people to think, you know, but in a positive way, um, before the English, there were the Spanish, there were the Portuguese, and there were the French, and also Italians, and they predated the first English settlers or explorers by at least 100 years. Um, so I think the Plymouth, what was it, Plymouth Rock? That wasn't kind of discovered. Um, let's see. I think that wasn't until like the 1600s or something. As you see, the first settlement in America was 1607, and then St. Augustine, which I've been to because I actually grew up in Florida for a time. This was settled 1565 by Don Pedro Mendez. See, or yes, rather, Menendez. See. All right, so why is this all so important? Why am I sharing all this with you? Well, I think it's important to get a well-rounded kind of idea of okay, who were the people who came here and how did they mix and how did they all eventually interact with each other? See, so um, yes. Um, I, sorry. Let me drink some water. It's a lot of information to share. Uh, so I want to show you some images of the native Peruvians specifically, or some of the mummies they found, because um, a lot of people think that some of the first people from Europe initially had red blonde hair and all that, but really the first blonde person that existed in Siberia 1700 years ago, and I'll see if I can get an image, not here, but let me see if I can get an image of no, not that person. Let's see, because I have an image of one of how some of the original blonde people would have looked like long ago, 1700 years ago. Let's see if I can get it. Let's see. Well, let me get this open. So notice how first person with blonde hair 1700 years ago in Afton Siberia wasn't actually a white person at the time. It was actually probably closely related to the red man, or really to what would be called ancient North Eurasians, which you know became predominant in the Americas and in Europe actually, and also parts of the Caucasus and other areas. So I want you to look at this man, at this original person with blonde hair 1700 years ago, and he looks to me like a native, some of the Native American Mayans. And I'm going to show you an image of Hanabatsman, who's a Mayan elder actually. So look at Hanabatsman, look at him, then look at the first person with blonde hair, look at him, and you see how they're really both connected. You see? And actually, one of the first, well, the Maya, if you look at the seven sisters of Pleiades, one of the, and Pleiades, it goes back to ancient Greek folklore. Um, seven sisters here. One of them is Maya. Me, I feel, because, I do believe in star seeds and stuff like that. I feel a lot of connection to Alcyone and Pleione. But of course there are others as well. So, but Maya is actually one of the stars, and so one of the first people that, 'cause I know sometimes when people talk about Pleiades, they kind of have this gross exaggeration that all of them have blonde hair and blue eyes and all that. It's not necessarily true. Some of them do, some of them don't. But for some that do, well, you can see here one of the first people that looked like one of the Mayans, Native American Mayans, actually did have blonde hair. So that's the kind of connection where you go back far back enough, then that would be how the original people looked like. So yes, that is the, let's see. I want to show that with you. Okay. Um, okay, so I want to show you because when people ask me, what native tribes are you connected to, I always kind of show them. For me, I feel like connected from like the tip of Greenland to the bottom of Patagonia. I'll show a couple more of these samples that I got that I was compared to. Here's a match with some natives from the Caribbean, and here you can see haplogroup D1, which again is East Asian, was very prominent. And then YDNA Q1b is also prominent. So the natives talk about the condor and the eagle. Well, who are the condor and the eagle? For me, the condor or the eagle is haplogroup Q1a, which is more prominent as you get further north into the Americas on average. And then Q1b is the condor, which is more prominent as you get further south. And so, um, why is this so important? Well, The condor and the eagle, the paternal lineages, you know, and again, I know Hypatia talks a lot about the paternal lineages of the Americas, which also is important actually, because as you can see, now you can understand why some natives don't really feel a connection to East Asia, because again, they would have had different mothers. But now the fathers, that's where I think the condor and the eagle energy comes from. Now, I know the Mongolians are going to say, "What about me? What about haplogroup C? What about me?" Okay, and I'll say, "Okay, all right, fair play there." But Q1b and Q1a probably predated, the Y-DNA-C that came with some of the Mongolic people, or at least paternal ancestors. And as my old friend Jess would remind me, not all of that paternal lineage, haplogroup C, would have been descended from Genghis Khan. That they could have been, people of that descent that they just, left Mongolia and they came to the Americas and they mixed with the other natives a little bit later on. I'll have to see what was the earliest Y-DNA lineage for the in the Americas of haplogroup C, because I'm actually not sure. Okay, so 8,500 years ago. Okay, so they came later. Yes. So because Q1b and Q1a have been here since the beginning. But yeah, so this lineage came a little bit later. Yes. And you can see how it's more prominent, particularly in Alaska, Canada, um, parts of the Southwest, and even in parts of Colombia, I think too, like a small portion. But yeah. Okay, but this lineage I don't think is the necessarily the connection to the condor and the eagle. I mean, I think it's in addition to. It is definitely in addition to, but it's not the original basis, I don't think. But it is in addition to. I actually watched a native YouTuber who actually in his DNA test, he actually got like 16% Mongolian, and his mother was like, Mongolian, is that from Asia? And then he went to Mongolia, and they thought, he was their kind of like long lost cousin or something. And then he's like, "No, I'm Native American." It's like, "Wait, you look like us." And then come to find out, wait, no, no, no. Actually, I do have a little bit of that. So yeah, so there's that connection there. Um, but let me get back to uh, the samples here. So this was um, another sample I got. Okay, so here you have maternal haplogroup A, which would be maternal haplogroup A to me is more like the Siberian lineage, or well, because it's most prominent in Mongolia and Tibet. So we have to let the Mongolians know, that aside from the paternal lineage, haplogroup C, which would be kind of the part of the paternal ancestry of Mongolia, there was also maternal haplogroup A, which is also a prominent maternal haplogroup in Mongolia. So yeah, C is more so concentrated in the east here. They got a little bit of Q as well, a little bit. Let's see if I can get the image here. Yeah, see how they got a little bit of Q? It's more prominent in the north central part. They got even a little bit of Q here. Also Q here. So, but okay. So see if I can get this for you guys. So maternal haplogroup A. I'll do D and then I'll do A and then I'll go back to D. Notice how A is most prominent with the Tlingit, Pacific Northwest, Haida, Eskimo, Inuit. Not all, and then we have to understand not all Eskimos are Inuit. There are other, people as well, aside from those of Inuit lineage. Um, you got Miztec, which it's Mexico, and it's probably connected to people from the north. And this is probably why some of the Mexicans, some of the native Mexicans, this is probably why some of them look very Asian or very kind of, well, Asian in the sense that, because I know some people might say Korean, which could be a connection as well, but I'm also thinking, you know, maybe part of it also too is from Mongolia or Tibet or other areas. Let's see. Um, so you got Siberian Eskimo, Chukchi, uh, from the near the Arctic Ocean, Siberia. You got Apache, you got my friend Joe. You got Nawa here, connected to Aztecs. Siouan, well, Siouan actually, that'd actually be connected to the Lakota, so actually fairly high as well, aside from Haplogroup X. Chumash, Maya. I know the Mayan elder talked a lot about Chumash. That was very important for him. Navajo, Ojibwe, Salian Chumash, um, Kuya, New Chow Nuth, Pacific Northwest, Creek and Seminole, Aleut from the Aleutian Islands. This reminds me a lot of my great grandmother Lita, actually. Um, Zapotec. I love the Zapotec. I just love how they smile. It always brings, it's just nice to see. Um, Pawnee, and then here's the Cheyenne, which again, I watched a video recently about with a Cheyenne native woman, and I'm not going to mention her name, but this is one reason why I really felt it was important to do this video because I feel some of the natives, and again, at the end of the day, it's their choice, but they get so into, um, they feel like blood quantum is the only way that they can, how do I say it? They feel like that's the only way they can go about things, but that's why we help them see the Rainbow. And that's why I feel like sharing about Japan is so important because really the native lineage I inherited really originally came from the Jomon people from Japan. That really originally had come um, from those people. So the thing is that um, we have to remind ourselves that um, of course there's different ways to go about things, but we can't just box ourselves in and say, okay, this is how it's going to be. This is how it's always going to be. We're never going to change because that's how you get the Mormon look, and that you got to be careful with that because that's how you get sick. That's how you run into these problems. This is how you get it. You get sick. You see, um, and you have to really be careful. So. And the thing is I know with the Paiute in Utah, this is where I think some of the Aztec lineage could be connected with that that they because I think they talked about Aztlan was connected to the place of the herons, and herons are prominent in Utah. That the 5/8 blood quantum, this is how you can get sick if you're not careful. You can run into these problems that that you have to be careful with. So I think that we have to understand that. And again, it's an individual's choice. That's what I tell my Uncle Herman. That so I know he said it's the tribe's choice, but really it comes down to the individual because a tribe wouldn't be a tribe without individuals, and it's an individual's choice whether they want to follow what's being kind of proposed, or to choose a different path. Hmm. So yeah, so I think that's important to share. Um, Actually, I wanted to share this real quick with you guys because quite a rainbow when it comes to my lineages, as you can see here. I want to go here, show you I have, because not every native actually has this actually. You see how I have part ancestry that's North Amerindian, which would be connected to natives from North America. I think here they might be basing it more so with the Mayan lineage, because I know, despite what some people think, some of the Mayans were actually some of the original North Native Americans, before they settled in Mexico. Um, yes. I'll have to see to be sure to say that, but for now, we'll say that, that could be part of it. The other part here is Mesoamerican, which is really connected to the Pima people, or really people who would be connected to the ancient people of Peru, so before Inca. Or it reminds me of the Hopi elder when he went to Peru, and he said, "This is where life all began." One of the Hopi elders. So I think that's where that the Mesoamerican connection is with the Hopi, the Pima, and the O'odham Nation, and some of the pre-Inca, and even post-Inca, because they still would have been, connected other way. And then you got the South American Amerindian lineage, and this lineage, I think, was connected to some of the Suari people from the Amazons. So, of course, probably others as well, but that's part of the lineage as well. And then here's the Arctic Amerindian lineage, and so the Arctic Amerindian is, kind of like the people from Greenland. And I'll show you a sample of that because I have actually samples that even predate the Inuit people. Because I know what a lot of, you know, I know sometimes Inuit are like, some of them think, we're not native, we're not native. But I'll say, no, you technically are. You mixed. Because some of them did mix with the natives, so they technically are a mixture of the lineages. So, and I can even show it here actually. So here you got Inuit, Bering Strait. You got the maternal haplogroup D, which is East Asia. Here you got Athabascan and Athapascan, because I think the B is pronounced like a P. You have Native American, and then here you have Eskimo, East Greenlander, Haida. Haida is Pacific Northwest. West Greenlander, Apache, Tlingit, Navajo, Tsimshian. And then here you have Maya, Kukopa. So you can see it was really a mixture of lineages kind of coming together here. Um, let's see. And then you can see Sequoia, Greenland here. So I actually got the sample while my dad didn't, and I think my Uncle Herman told me that um, he told me that sometimes we inherit ancestry from our great grandmother or great great grandmother that we may not inherit from that maybe our dad or parents might not inherit. So most of my native ancestry would come from my dad's side of the family, so more so like from my dad's mother's and more to the paternal lineage, but maybe even a little bit from the paternal lineage as well. Um, so here you have Ket, and Ket to me sounds very similar to Celt when I think of the word cat. Uh, and so maybe there is actually a connection there. I'll see if I can find Here, I'm gonna pull this up. Okay. So here's Yanasa. You can see here that these would have been connected to the cats. Even to an extent Uralic people a little bit. Yanasa River in Siberia.